Hello and welcome to The Cat and the Parrot. Today, quite a topical one, lots of teachers are talking about this, is safer working practice using virtual conferencing. So obviously there's a debate about which virtual conferencing is the safest. So there's lots of different things out there. But then once you've made the decision on which one you're going to use, the safer working practices from a safeguarding point of view, and there's lots of different aspects to this. What's your first thoughts, Anne-Marie, on safer working practice with it?
It's interesting you say that, Kerry, because over the last few weeks, I've spoken to quite a lot of safeguarding needs about various challenges, and they varied from so somebody in the background walking with a towel on and in the background of a child's work, to children screenshotting like you and I now, like the teacher doing the real time, and then sharing it amongst friends, and then obviously putting horrible comments on it, almost like, you know, screenshot bullying, etc. To, I suppose, the reality of people hearing shouting in the background, children doing lessons from their bedroom, and then the thin line between they live in a studio flat and they're overcrowded and that's the only place they can do. So what do you suggest we can do it in a way? So all those queries, so we can sort of talk about some of them now, because I'm sure there's people listening who are also experiencing similar challenges.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we start with the first one about things in the background, or things that maybe they shouldn't be passing. So we talked about that dad that walked past that perhaps we didn't really want the rest of the world to see.
Yeah, so what is interesting on that one was, you know, my safe recruitment hat kicked in, and don't get me wrong, what I'm hearing a lot also is the home is now a school, the home is now a gym, the home is like almost a hub of everything at the moment. So we have to be mindful that it's a small space, some might have bigger spaces, but everything's been done there. So because of that, and because of the nature of children being horrible to each other anyway, ordinarily in a playground, or the sense of just being unkind, at the moment, they're being exposed to their home life, right? And not everybody has lives in homes where they're proud of, in the sense of they're doing their best, whatever. You might have the child just got the perfect, you know, latest this to the child who hasn't, or wallpaper gone down, or damp, whatever. So I had a bold moment, you know me, Kerry, last week, Thursday, Friday, why don't we introduce, whether it's primary or secondary, for primary, because children spend a lot of time in the same class, they could all design their own virtual background, okay, and then they're going to put it on whenever they have their lessons, so everyone's got the same class background. So as a class, you could do it as a competition, or you can just do it where we just choose one as a group together, so team building.
It's community.
To secondaries, using a sense of identity. So if someone gave you a blank piece of paper, sit down, you decorate it and how you want to, you know, express yourself through that. I'm aware that some people might do some dark things based on obviously sad and dark low mood, but generally a sense of also the school logo maybe, and something about yourself, or a picture or whatever. So you also could create them where, again, you might just want to give them a sense of identity or sense of something where they can create their own virtual background. So I think it's something worth considering that. Go back to that comment I made, if everyone had the same virtual background, or had a virtual background as a part of the requirement, then everyone's equal. So therefore, as a class, we're all in it together, and we're all just here in a class learning.
So what's your thoughts
rather than I'm busy looking in your background?
What's your thoughts on cameras on or cameras off, though, from a safeguarding point of view, not from a teaching? I know that teachers prefer to see faces.
Wow, you said that. I've got an email this morning that I had to reply to for associate roles that I've got, where from a GDPR perspective, they're asking this, and from a safeguarding perspective, they're asking that. So I wonder if you sent the email, but anyway, it's just so interesting that you asked me the same question. I wonder, connections,
I think all schools are going through it.
Yeah, so GDPR, one could argue, with the permission of the parent, it's kind of covered under the thing of consent. However, for safeguarding perspectives, one could argue, why are you doing it? So, for example, how are you policing it? Have you got permission? So if, for example, this came up again, where if we were like a Google Class now, or Hangouts or Zoom, where I could see all the class on my screen, if I took a picture of, I was a child and I took a picture of that, okay, potentially, and I sent it somewhere online, if there was a child in that class that was adopted or in police protection, they've been exposed, haven't they? So thinking of safeguarding, that's one fact. That's one thing to think of. Two, also the reality of where it can end up. And so there's lots of reasons, because what we don't see is, if your camera's off, you can't see what I'm doing. You can't see if I'm recording this. Yeah. And I think you've just got to, I think the ground rules would be, if the school are clear about expectations, like your behaviour policy you have for children, your homeschool agreement that you have with parents, everyone's thinking the same thing, where we respect each other, you know, promoting kindness and promoting the fact that if someone gets sent something or sees something that doesn't report it, by association, you've colluded with it. Okay. So you're creating an environment where it's not acceptable, but under safeguarding, again, the reasons why you shouldn't be doing it. So I think by layering it all, some people are using it to record because some parents are complaining that the quality of teaching isn't this and that, whatever. So you've got evidence, actually. So as long as school by school, you have a conversation with your SLT, with your governance around your decision making, and you've documented it and justified it, you're good to go. You know, what decision you've made.
So what about, so for example, I'm hearing a few people say from a safeguarding point of view that you should see the child to check they're okay. So you're using it as a visual, oh, I've seen their face, they look all right, that's the contact, you know, that you can't always get it from a voice, or you might hear if they're not feeling great, but to visually see a child once a day from a safeguarding point of view is your kind of like contact. What about those kind of thoughts?
What's also come up the last fortnight there, Kerry, is two things. How are you at the moment being accessible to those children, i.e., if I was in a home where I know my abuser or the person that I'm scared of is right, like sitting over there, how can I tell you? So again, an Anne-Marie Bulb moment, which is a bit, you know, Anne-Marie-ish in that sense. I thought of, you've got to think of a random word. If I type to you, I hate Mr. Blobby, Mr. Blobby is telling you, that's my code word, that actually I need to talk to you, but I can't. Does that make sense? And the sensitivity. So if I had a tiger parent right next to me here that's watching my screen, knowing that I could report it, they won't pick that up. Do you understand? So creating something with each group, again, being sensitive to the age of the group, from the youngsters to the teenagers, etc. Thinking about all the challenges for those individuals in those families, from affluent families with stigma attached, etc., to how you can do that in a way that, like at school, the child would be able to say something. So it's been accessible, whether it's on your landing page, like we said last time, you know, your support button, your parent button, your child button, children's button, different year groups who you can speak to, whether it's pastoral care, or whether there's a form that they can click on that goes somewhere, again, internally, like the CPONs or whatever system they're going to be using, that kind of flags something up. So you can be very flexible at the moment in how that child can verbally, i.e. potentially, but also through an email or through a certain clicking on something, that means they'll be called. Okay. And their schools, you guys are amazing at creating situations for you to speak to children. You're very good at that. I don't need to even give you some, don't we? So you're very good, whether it's you've got an IT problem or we've picked up that you need some help answering that question. You can make up a genuine excuse why you need to speak to that child. So keep going through your different things where you feel satisfied that you've spoken to the child, and remembering there's children who are going to be on your list that are not on your list, because the ones that were coping but now obviously are just showing signs of needing help, and doing it sensitively.
No, that's really helpful. That's great. Thank you very much. I think that's our 10 minutes up.
Ooh,
good to see you again.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye.
Speak to you soon. Bye.